Hey, fellow collectors, I'm Anthony with Anthony's Comic Book Art, and I have the honor today of being able to talk to Mr. Mike Mignola, one of, if not the most successful. Would you call yourself an independent comic creator?
I guess I am considered an independent since I own, the Hellboy property. I think I'm probably too mainstream for the real indie people, and too indie for the mainstream people. So I'm somewhere.
You could say
in the
you're
middle.
too successful for those mean.
Well, I don't want to say that, but
Well, I'll say that.
But yeah, I am the poster boy for getting away with murder. I'm the guy where you go, well.
Well, you were doing stuff for Marvel and DC, yes. And then you broke off and published Hellboy and Dark Horse.
Yeah.
So that is the.
Yeah, I'm what happens. I might be one of the better success stories for leaving the big company and trying your own thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were published in John Byrne's Next Men, did John Byrne have anything to do with that, or was that just a name of the book? I mean, did you have any sort of relationship with John? Did he facilitated that?
Oh yeah. No, John and I had already started, working on Hellboy. John and I had a good working relationship at DC. So when I decided to do Hellboy, I knew I wasn't, a writer, right? So I wasn't going to script it myself. I didn't even think I was going to do any of the writing myself, other than give John a list of shit I wanted to draw. So as soon as I came up with the idea for Hellboy, I contacted John and asked him if he'd write it.
Wow!
So we did.
That's great.
We did the Next Men thing as a teaser for the Hellboy series.
And then Dark Horse is publishing that, so you just segued on to the miniseries that were Hellboy.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many. There were a bunch of us that were either like John and Frank Miller were already doing stuff at Dark Horse. Art Adams was going to do his independent book. I was doing mine.
Monkey Man on O'Brien.
And so that's when we formed the Legend imprint.
Oh, okay.
Basically, we just went to Mike Richardson, I think it was at a party. We'd been talking about it, but we went to confronted him at a party and said, "Hey, we want to bring our books to you, and will you give us our own imprint?" And that was the thing where Richardson asked me, what was I going to do? And I said, I'm going to do something called Hellboy. And he said, okay. He apparently, according to him, he'd been chasing me for a while to do something for Dark Horse. But he never asked what Hellboy was. He just had faith enough in me, for God knows what reason, to say, yeah, we'll publish your thing.
Awesome. And the rest is history, as they say.
Worked out well for him as well as me.
Mm-hmm. So you had left DC when John Byrne was doing Man of Steel, and I know you did like Cosmic Odyssey, and is that about the concurrent things that were going on?
Cosmic Odyssey. When I did Cosmic Odyssey, I was still bouncing back and forth between Marvel and DC. I was living in New York, and basically I would just do it was almost like I'll do one for these guys, then I'll do one for those guys. Then I had a falling out with Marvel, so I was kind of stuck with just DC. Okay. And I did a Batman book for DC that led into doing Hellboy. Because I did a straight supernatural Batman story. But I never gave a shit about Batman.
One of those Elseworld books, right?
No, well, there was that. That was earlier. But I did a one-issue Legend of the Dark Knight. That was a Lovecraftian ghost story, Batman story. And I did that, and I plotted it myself, and I thought I want to do more stuff like this, but I don't know anything about DC Comics. I don't know anything about those characters. So do I keep trying to do stories like this with other people's characters, or if I know the kind of story I want to do, maybe it's time to make up my own guy? And since the Image guys had all run off a year or so before, it was a pretty good example.
Yeah, they set a precedence, right?
How that could work. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, what was the title of that graphic novel?
It wasn't a graphic novel. It was just one issue comic. The Batman one. It was. I don't remember what number of Legends of the Dark Knight.
Oh, Legends. Okay.
But it was called Sanctum.
But it wasn't like Gotham by Gaslight that became so famous.
No, Gotham by Gaslight was earlier. That's when I was doing the bouncing back and forth. I think there was 1 year where I did Gotham by Gaslight, and then I did a Wolverine prestige format book. about Wolverine and cavemen. And I think I did those books back to back, and that was the most commercial I'd ever been. I was doing an X-Men thing and a Batman thing, and then I went on to do other
Which
shit.
is, as a guy that was not exclusive with either company, that's pretty much a pinnacle of success, doing premier Batman and premier X-Men books like that.
Yeah, I was doing okay.
And you were doing
I
covers as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of covers out there, like even minor X-Men books, like off-title stuff that you were doing.
Yeah, well, it's because I was living in New York and I was spending so much time at the offices. Anytime I walked down the hall at Marvel at DC, somebody was saying, "Can you do a cover for this? Or can you do a cover for that?" And I was, so many of my friends were in editorial. I was saying this yesterday. It's a good, for a guy who's kind of starting out in the career in the business, being in New York and being around the offices and getting to know the people and having them get to know you is a really good thing for a career.
Especially being in town and walking up there and some editor is saying, "Do this, I need it yesterday."
Well, certainly at the beginning of my career, that's the only way I got work is we
Right.
need an inker today for a book. You're no good, but you're here, so we'll use you.
Well, remember when I had you sign that batch of Kazar pages
Oh, yeah.
and Power Man pages?
yeah.
Was that some of your first work at
That was,
Marvel?
yeah. That was not a great. It was not a. It
Well,
was
I
not
mean-
a
I
great.
mean,
it was not a great. Well, it
It's
was
a start.
It was
I
a
mean,
start.
yeah.
It's what I thought I would be doing for my career. And
Inking?
it turned out I was
Really?
terrible at it. Yeah, because I didn't have any faith in my drawing ability. So my plan going in was I would be an inker, because I thought, well, that'll be easy. Anybody can be that. And then eventually I would do like pinups and hopefully some covers, because I thought of myself more as an illustrator. I never aspired to draw comics. I never tried to draw comics. It was only when, the inking career dried up that I had an editor. Fortunately, one of the first editors I worked with at Marvel. He recognized I was a bad inker. He gave me work, but he recognized I was a bad inker. And he recognized I was better, at drawing than inking. So after a year of bad inking, and I knew my career was pretty much over. He came. I ran into him and he said, "Are you ready to try drawing comics now?" So.
Do you want to give that man credit?
Al Milgram.
Oh my God, yeah.
Al gave me my start twice.
Nice guy, very nice guy. He was set up right next to me at New York Comic Con, and we talked a lot. And he's just a charming guy. He's
And a great editor. I was so lucky to have that guy as my editor. I learned so much. Because back in those days, especially if you were in the city, you spent a lot of time with your editor, with them going over your pages. I don't think it's anything like that now.
No.
But there was a mentoring that went on.
So that's when you kind of launched your line art style.
Yeah.
All right. Then that's what was being published in the covers, sort of that. How would you describe your line art style when you broke out?
Well, I mean, my stuff looked very different then. My stuff was much softer. I used to ink only with a brush. So I think if you see the stuff I did back then, it's barely recognizable.
Well, I see it. What I mean by line art style is that line art before you went to the Hellboy style. What do you? I mean, that's all brush.
See, I'm confused because
Yes.
line art, it's always line art.
I mean, the early Marvel published stuff.
Yeah.
It was more of a traditional, pencil and ink line art.
Well, I don't think it's that. I mean, it's just gotten more simplified now. Yeah, there was a lot more lines on it. It was a more of a rendering kind of a guy.
Okay.
And I became much more of a graphic guy as time went on. Because I was a pretty picture guy, or tried to be a pretty picture guy, and eventually I became a storytelling guy, where you don't need to render the shit out of something, because what's important is moving the eye across the page, not showing off how great you could draw a shoe.
That's awesome. So when did that attitude and that approach come about solely with Hellboy?
No. Oh, no. It's where did it? A big change for me was when I did Cosmic Odyssey, because I was sitting there for a year using Jack Kirby stuff for reference. And
Right.
I'd always loved the Kirby characters,
The Fourth World
but I'd
stuff.
never really looked at Jack stuff as an influence. And spending a year, looking at with the Kirby stuff in front of me, I started realizing that there was an abstractness. Well, there's definitely an abstractness to Jack stuff, and I started embracing that and bringing that to my own stuff, which I think is more natural for me than doing the. I was never going to be Dave Stevens, right? I was never going to be a beautiful that kind of artist. I was trying to be, and then when I really spent the time with the Kirby stuff, I embraced that graphic abstraction, and that was a big change. I mean, I always wanted to be Frank Frazetta. I wanted to be Jeff Jones, and so if you somehow can add Kirby to Jeff Jones and Frazetta, I think that's where my style started to change.
Wow. Well, I'm interested to know what you mean by Jack's abstractness, because most people would, in a layman's term, refer to his stuff as very graphic and action-oriented, and who did action better, and
it's like
and all that.
His anatomy and stuff. It's like it's just some squiggles and lines and shapes, and he wasn't fussy. He was clearly not fussy about things like, what does an arm really look like? It was all about power and drama.
The length of a thigh.
So it was more important to make things powerful than it was to make things correct.
Interesting. And that was the formulation of your style for Hellboy.
Yeah, it kind of gave me a license to be less fussy about certain elements of drawing and embrace more the power and the.
So it's that old art saying you had to learn the rules before you could break them.
Well, it's very much Picasso.
Yeah, isn't that Picasso?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, well, I don't know if that's the quote is Picasso, but if you look at what Picasso was doing when he was 13 or 14 years old, he could draw beautifully.
Yeah.
And it's at some point you just go, well, but
everybody does.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do with this?
To break out, to stand alone.
Yeah.
And that your style certainly has broken out and standing alone. You have a legion of fans, and it's created one of the most successful, or if not the most successful, indie character out there. I mean, I guess you and Todd have an argument.
Well, there's the Turtle guys.
Well, that's true.
They did pretty darn well.
Top
they
three.
had a good
Top
run.
three. They're still going strong. It's amazing. So
no, I mean, that's a funny thing too, because for so many years I thought, well, this is going to dry up any minute. To have it at some point, not that long ago, I started thinking this thing is not going to go away. It's gonna, even with films and everything else, it's out there. It was hard to believe that I could really get away with it. Well,
you, what was it, 4 years ago, you decided to just shut him down, but now he's on his way back?
Well, I mean, the nice thing is, however many years ago it was, I finished his story. That's great, because, 25 years, I got to tell his story, and I got to end his story. I ended him in Hellboy in Hell, and then I ended the world in BPRD. So there's still plenty of room to tell stories set within, the timeline. But how many guys get to tell a big story over that many years? And the beauty now is, because I've finished it, because I've ended the world, because I've ended Hellboy, I can just continue to play as long as I want. But if somebody says, oh, it's over tomorrow, that's fine, because the big story has been told.
But it's only over when you say it's over, because the demand is out there, the audience is out there.
Yeah.
It's all up to you. This is your universe. You created it. You're the god.
As long as I can find other people that want to draw it and write it or co-write it with me, yeah. But I mean, more and more, I think my energies are towards different stuff now. I mean, I'm writing 2 books now that take place in the Hellboy world, but for the most part, I'm kind of looking. I'm just drawing for fun now. So
Can you tell us a little bit about that, or you
About drawing
not
for
solicited
fun?
those, or
No, about the ones that.
yeah, what's
no,
next for you in your career and in the Hellboy universe?
Well, yeah, I can't. No, I don't want to. They're both pretty cool, big, secret projects.
Is Hellboy in it?
Great artists. He's in one of them,
Okay.
and so yeah. So I'm writing those.
Can we talk about who you tapped to continue the artist?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Oh, actually, one of them is a secret. I did Koski the Deathless with Ben Stenbeck, and we're doing a continuation of that, Koski the Deathless in Hell.
Okay.
So Ben is drawing that, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And then the other one is a big surprise.
Well, Mr. Mignola, it's a real pleasure to see you in New York, and thank you for coming. And thank you. I think everybody that's set up here has you to thank for being such a big draw to this venue, and to expose more of an audience to their material as well.
I hope that's true. That's nice.
That is true, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I really want to commend you about all the work you did with the World Kitchen and putting that stuff out there. I drove up a lot of price points for you, bidding on them. So that
How many did you get?
I didn't get any.
Really?
Not a single one.
I guess that thing worked out so well, considering I was just doing that to entertain myself. You know, it was just, the world was so crazy, and I just thought I will distract myself by doing this. And the fact that people enjoyed it, and the fact that my wife was that was her brainchild to turn it into an auction and for charity. So yeah, it was nice to be able to do something.
You want to talk about how much was actually raised with it? It's
raised
still ongoing, yes?
No, it's not ongoing. Well, we did do a couple new auctions because
The Joker one, right?
Yeah,
I bid on that one as well and was blown away.
World Central. He's, last I checked, he's on the border of the Ukraine. So
He's in Poland right now,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I read something about that.
So, but for the pandemic period one, we raised $500,000.
Right.
So that's pretty good.
That's where I thought was about. That's amazing, and that was all through your efforts and the following that you have with your characters and people wanting your art.
It's rare.
And in turn,
it's rare that you get to do something.
If it takes $2 to feed somebody, you made
we've had
a quarter of a million meals for people and as a former restaurant guy, I mean, there's a pleasure and a satisfaction in feeding people that I take, and I hope that is present within you in this respect.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. The world appreciates that. That was a great accomplishment by you, and we thank you for that.
My pleasure.
All right. So that's Mike Mignola here at the MoCA Fest, and I'm going to show him a little bit of something that I brought as a surprise for him, but we're going to cut from here. I'm Anthony with Anthony's Comic Book Art for comic art fans.
Hey, I'm Rand Hoppy. I'm here from the Jack Kirby Museum booth, selling our Jack Kirby Museum merchandise and getting the word out about Jack Kirby here at the MoCA Fest, here at the Metropolitan Pavilion in Manhattan. We had a great day yesterday, and we're looking forward to another great day.
Yeah, there was a line around the block.
Like around the block, completely past the Container Store.
Yeah. And that used to be a men's clothing store that I did ads for. Now it sells plastic Tupperware.
How about that?
That's why I'm not an advertising photographer anymore, I guess.
Fair enough.
So what's new and exciting in the world of Jack Kirby?
Well, we are, there's not that much going on, man. Well, I do know that, nothing to do with me, but I know that Abrams has announced the second volume of the Blacklight poster portfolio. That'll be fun. That was something that came out during the pandemic, so you could get your Blacklight poster fix.
Well, I need one of those because I collect Blacklight posters, and if they're going to devalue my Blacklight poster collection, I want to know.
We do have some nice copies of the the Absolute Fourth World Volume 2, some artist editions, prints and posters.
Come through that a little bit. This art.
This is a book.
Artesian.
This is a book that we made. Tom Kraft pulled together
From the scans.
from the scans. So
Mini
it's,
scans. Did I get a thank you?
I think you did. I don't know. But it's pencils to inks. It's called Pencils and Inks, but it's really
so it's
pencils
stuff
to
that he had
inks.
pencils and scans
so,
of.
so we have our first issues of Demon, Commandy, OMAC.
Oh, let me
From,
go. Show me some
photocopies.
Commandy. I love those.
You want the Commandy? All right, we'll get you the Commandy. Let's see. Here we go. There's some Commandy.
Awesome.
Kirby pencils, Mike Royer inks and letters. Just great. Really nice when we have some special signed editions here.
By the Royer.
That's right.
Well, you've been at this for how long now?
Since 05.
Oh, 05.
That's right, man.
Trying to keep the man, the myth, the legend of
Yeah.
Jack Kirby alive.
Yes.
And here on 18th Street, not that far away from where he was raised.
Suffolk.
The Lower East
Just
Side,
over
right?
that way. Yeah.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, you've been a big help, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And all the comic art collectors have been big helps to our digital archive. We've got like 8,000 pages of stuff that we've scanned, and it's really been
So
great.
if anybody thinks they have something that you haven't scanned, hit you up.
That's right. We are out there and available. Please reach out.
Okay, so where would they reach out to?
KirbyMuseum.org, social media, Kirby Museum. There might be one that's Jack Kirby Museum, but yeah, we're out there.
And you're getting out there at the MoCA Fest, and you have your scanner at
WonderCon.
At WonderCon today.
We'll be set
too.
up at San Diego Comic Fest in a few weeks.
So you're bi-coastal.
We are. That's right.
Awesome, Randy. All right, thanks for sharing a few minutes with us on Comic Art Fans.
All right.
And that is Randy Hoppy.
Rand Hoppy. Yes.
Hello, I'm Donato Giancola. I've been a science fiction and fantasy illustrator for almost 30 years now professionally. I live in Brooklyn. I grew up in Vermont in the United States here, and I love traditional media, oil painting, drawing, draftsmanship, and storytelling. And here with
Did you
Richard.
go to school? Did you
Yes,
were you
I
classically trained as a painter?
Not really classically trained. I went to school at Syracuse University for their fine arts painting program. So that's where I really engaged with traditional media, oil painting, and storytelling. And I actually had two wonderful teachers that were almost on opposite sides of the coin. One, a kind of a postmodern deconstructionist, Sharon Gold. And then another artist, Jerome Wicken, who is very traditional-oriented, draftsmanship, great figure drawer. So I think between the balance of those worlds and that injection into me, I'm able to produce really interesting conceptual pieces for my fantasy and science fiction work.
Awesome. And you have some kind of crossover into pop culture here. You have.
I love making. Well, these aren't even for Dungeons and Dragons, but I played Dungeons and Dragons heavily as a young man.
My kids are really into it.
All right.
And then you have some.
Magic the
Magic
Gathering.
art.
Yeah, actually, I think that's what you might have been just filming just before. There is some of my Magic the Gathering art, and then these are black and white illustrations for interior book illustrations for Naomi Novik fantasy novels. And I do a lot of book illustration for cover work as well.
That's awesome.
And this is Tad Williams, the Dragon Bone chair. So I just recently finished illustrating that. So that'll be coming out actually just in a couple of weeks. Some of those images will be released out there.
And these are prelims for Magic cards. I know that.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Those what set is that?
That's quite
Do
a
you
few.
know?
Oh boy, this one's I think Zendikar Rising, and this is recently Neon Dynasty from Kamigawa. And likewise, Kamigawa, some preliminary sketches, and another fantasy illustrated project here. So I've been working, staying traditional media throughout the years because I enjoy the tangible quality of what I do and communicating stories so that people can hang it on their walls. And I just love oil. Also love oil painting. I've just been vested in trying to make these images and make them, I think, communicate the sensibility.
So what is this robot with the girl type thing?
Yeah, that's a personal project. That's part of my empathetic robot series that I've been working on through the years. And every year I add like 1 or 2 images to that set. And they're just personal pieces. They're my own world building that I'm doing.
Empathetic robots. So
Empathetic.
robots have feelings too.
Yeah, it's like basically it's the idea of
2 robots dream of electric sheep.
yeah, the Philip K. Dick.
Right?
Yeah, right. No, it's a brilliant, right? A Blade Runner. I know what a brilliant film and novel, right? The novel is great. If you haven't read the novel, highly recommend it. There's some good insights in there that aren't in the film.
All right. So what brings you to MoCA?
I'm just a big fan of comics. I grew up reading comics, being completely inspired by them. Again, the storytelling, the narration, and the draftsmanship and craft. So that was a foundation of who I am as an artist. And even though I don't do comics myself, they certainly inform my sensitivity to integrity, to storytelling and craftsmanship. And so I love being here, just being a part of the celebration of comics in general. So it's, yeah.
All right. Do you do New York Comic Con?
I have done. I wasn't there this year, even though I signed up. COVID, unfortunately, hiccuped that for me. But yeah, I used to go to San Diego Comic Con for about 20 years before it just didn't. It just got crazy expensive to set up one in like a couple booth spaces. But I used to go there for 20 years straight. I went to San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah. So what's next? What kind of projects are you working on right now?
I've got a giant Middle Earth painting on my wall that is 10 feet by 6 feet in scale. So a huge landscape, kind of inspired by Albert Bierstadt and the Hudson River School painters. So that's on the wall.
But
and then
with the content of
Middle Earth.
Middle Earth.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I'm a huge Middle Earth fan. So you'll see many oil paintings of mine, about Middle Earth. I've got a large book from Dark Horse Comics about my Middle Earth paintings. So that's. Let's see, what else have I got? Another Tad Williams illustrated continuation of his Dragon Bones chair series. And let's see, I've got some more Magic cards I'm working on. Literally on the drafting table right now are 4 more new Magic cards that I'm working on.
That's awesome. So you have your foundation is in traditional oil paintings,
Right.
but your commercial medium.
No, I'm still
you have more of a commercial medium in Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the
Magic,
Rings,
Lord of the Rings.
and
Oh, yeah.
Magic the Gathering cards, which are
Right.
your finished Magic paintings. What do they go for?
They range in prices. The low end, I have drawings, sketches that start around like $500 to $1,000 to like those, like the large scale mural thing is like $125,000.
Nice.
So it's a huge. I know that's a huge price point to try to explain to somebody, but it's like I love again the oil painting like. The medium-sized paintings like these are about, like the robot series are about 10 to 20,000 in that range. The Middle Earth projects are like, again, depends on the size of the painting. I love painting hands as well, so I've done like hands. That's right. Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
I have the hands of God and man. Look. Come on.
Oh, I'm pointing. Yeah.
Creation.
All right. There we are.
So I'm
Yeah,
Italian
okay,
and
right.
Greek, so I have that.
Yeah.
Did you? All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much
All right.
for spending some time with us, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And good luck with your future endeavors in your painting career. And thank you for supporting MoCA, because
certainly, yeah.
these, some of these people need to be inspired by working professionals
Oh no,
like
it's
yourself.
great. It's great to be here. Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Back storage, not this one, but the other one.
See, I can tell you're running a show when you're like trying to scrounge up chairs. So here I am with Annelle Miller. She's the director of MoCA, and you've been that way for...
Well, I've been the executive director of the Society of Illustrators for 15 years, and we took over MoCA. It's been about 12 years now, so we've been putting MoCA on for, all that time when we inherited the festival.
Okay, so tell us what MoCA is as a concept and a vehicle for those artists that participate.
It's really to highlight and focus the independent comic and cartoon art creators. We're not a typical con where we have commercial venues or anything like that. We highlight the artists, the creators. And that's what we're really proud of doing. And we're also proud that we partner with so many wonderful schools who are represented here at MoCA Fest, and that's very unusual for a festival as well.
Such as SVA.
SVA, Parsons, FIT. We even have the High School of Art and Design kids here, which is amazing, and they're so talented and wonderful.
But SVA holds a special place in my heart because Bern Hogarth founded it to try to give job skills to returning veterans that were working for Stars and Stripes and stuff like that to help transition them into commercial art. And I used to get a lot of his class drawings. He would do how to draw a human head, stuff like that. Amazing. Would be around on those 20 by 24 papers. And the Tarzan stuff he did was my favorite stuff of all time.
Yeah,
and then my middle child, actually got into SVA.
Oh, fantastic!
But it was during the pandemic, and we had to defer. And he's at Joe Kubert School now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we have a great partnership with SVA. We have had for many years. As you can see, they're represented in 3 different places in the fest, with continuing ed, with the MFA program, as well as the Cartoon Allies, the BFA program.
Okay, so you were dark for a couple of years, but are you happy to be back and in the space?
We are thrilled to be back, and yesterday was crazy. Oh my God, there was a line down 18th Street, around 6th Avenue, and back up 19th Street from 10:30 in the morning until 5 p.m. last night.
Now, were you operating at a limited capacity, or are you just
No, we were not.
No,
They were just people that wanted to be here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Do you find your crowd to be more of the consumers of that indie art genre?
Combination. It's a combination of consumers. It's a combination of creators. I mean, we had incredible people here yesterday, comics creators who have been doing this for decades. So and they want to see what the new up and coming creators are doing. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's why I'm here, to highlight some of those creators.
Great.
For comic art fans, which is the biggest vehicle that promotes comic art in the world that Bill Cox has built. So I got a chance to do an interview with Mike Mignola.
Yeah, wonderful.
Who gives his kudos to the indie press market that he basically achieved his stardom in.
Right, of course.
So, and for him to be here and to, be a draw and to expose these people that maybe just came to see him to the other creators here, that's a big coup.
Yeah,
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, Mike's a good friend to the Society of Illustrators. Yeah, we've had.
Now, did you generate that idea, or did he?
I suppose I did. We had a wonderful exhibit of his at the Society a few years ago, and he's been coming to MoCA Fest for a few years and part of our programming, so he's a wonderful friend.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's next for MoCA? Just getting through today?
Getting through today. You know, we have a gallery at the Society, at our museum, that is just designated for comic and cartoon art. So we have a wonderful show coming up very soon. It's the work of Nora Krug, and it's called Illustrator as Witness, and we have pamphlets here that we're giving out about that. We also have an incredible exhibit coming up in May in our main gallery for the work of Angelo Torres.
Oh,
Yes,
awesome.
yes.
The guy who took over
Yes.
for the Norm Mingos and Jack Davis's,
Yeah.
for the featured stories in Mad.
So it's
that
going
had
to be
to do with
a
movies and
big
TV.
exhibit, a big beautiful exhibit.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And giving us some time and talking about what MoCA is today and what it will be. Thank you so much.
Thank you.